There are more new series coming out in the Yellowstone universe on Paramount Plus from Taylor Sheridan. We're going to talk about 4 of those series that are expected right now on the Sundowners Club. Welcome, I'm your host Sean, and there's been a lot going on in the world of Yellowstone, and we're going to talk about some of the things that we expect to see soon around Taylor Sheridan's world building. And everybody knows, it's been in the news, that Kevin Costner is leaving Yellowstone after this second part of season 5. And so where do we go from here? The first thing that we need to do is we need to wrap up Yellowstone. So at the end of 2023, we're going to see season 5, part 2 of Yellowstone with Kevin Costner as John Dutton wrap up, where he will exit the series. And that is on the heels of a contentious relationship that's been documented between Kevin Costner and Taylor Sheridan. You know, a lot of the information that's come out stems around the fact that Kevin Costner has been focusing on doing an expected trilogy Western film that's called Horizon that he's been working on. He's trying to capitalize on the momentum around Yellowstone, and so it's led to him leaving the series. They couldn't come to an agreement. So he's going to wrap up, and that's the first thing that we're going to see from Yellowstone later this year is the wrap-up of the current series in its current form around Season 5. And Sterling, my co-host, thoughts around Kevin Costner leaving? You know, what do you think about Season 5, Part 2? You know, obviously it's not ideal when your main lead guy, especially at the level of Kevin Costner, leaves the series.
Yeah, it's just standard actor drama, unfortunately. And hopefully they can write him off in a way that makes sense. I'm not really sure what they're going to do. I think they're thinking about doing a spinoff that takes place after he's gone. So
Right.
Hopefully they just do it in a way where it actually is logical. But that's what happens. You had he's an actor that was huge in the late 80s, early 90s. And
He was difficult to work with back then.
yeah, he's had his time in the sun again, and I think he's trying to get back into movies. So I don't know. It sucks, but it's kind of expected in a way, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is
That's
what
why
it
we
is.
can't have nice things.
Yeah, Taylor Sheridan, I mean, and he may not be easy to work with either, but look, at the bottom line is Taylor Sheridan's put Paramount Plus on the map. I mean, he's got Mayor of Kingstown, he's got Tulsa King, he's got Yellowstone, he had 1883, he's got 1923, which is amazing. And the first half of season 5 was that they announced the season was going to be 14 episodes long. And according to the outsider.com, I want to give a shout out to the Outsider. You know, they talk about some of these series, and so we're going to just give our thoughts around it. So, go check out outsider.com. And there was a June 1st article around the expected confirmed Yellowstone series. So we want to give a shout out to John DB. And real quick, as we're talking about some of these series that are going to be coming out, hit the subscribe button below, hit that like button, and leave a comment. Let us know what you think, and we really appreciate the support. You know, the first half of the season was 8 episodes, and so the expectation is that they're going to have 6 remaining in November, but they might stretch that out a little bit. I mean, they've got time to edit that, so I hope that we can get maybe another 8 to wrap it all up. But once we do, then they've already announced they're going to go into sort of a sequel series, but we don't know exactly how many of the actors from Yellowstone are going to be appearing in it.
Right.
One would hope that Rip would be there. I mean, Rip's been a central character in Yellowstone. But then again, he's always been, the right-hand man to John Dutton. Maybe he sacrifices himself for his wife, Beth, John's daughter, or John himself. We don't know how many of these actors are going to move from Yellowstone to the new series. So how much of a sequel it ends up being, it's really unclear as of yet. But they have announced that they're going to be moving forward quickly, and that it has been greenlit. So we'll see when the casting announcements come out what happens with that. And then the premiere, initially I think they announced December, but with a writer's strike, there's no way. There's 0% chance of that happening. So, we could be, mid to late 2024 before anything hits because, the writer's strike is not over yet. And so the Directors Guild did come up with come to an agreement. So we'll see what happens with it. But when we talk about a potential sequel series or a spinoff that's going to take place after the events of season 5 with the exit of Kevin Costner's John Dutton, it has not been announced yet, but the rumor has been out there for over 6 months that Matthew McConaughey is stepping in to take over. And what do you think about Matthew McConaughey stepping into Yellowstone?
I think it's a good lateral move. It doesn't feel like a downgrade.
He's an Oscar winner.
Yeah, I mean, he's I don't know if you remember the first season of True Detective.
He was amazing.
I thought he was incredible in that.
Yeah,
And he's played a cowboy.
He's a Texan.
Yeah. I think he would play that role really well in the Yellowstone universe. I'm just curious to see kind of how he's involved in the sequel series. I mean, it's I guess he would have to be some kind of relative, I would think.
Possibly. Yeah. We got to find out what happens in 1923 season 2, which has also been delayed by the writer's strike. And I hate to say season 2 of 1923 because really it's a limited series. It ends after this next season for sure. They've said that. So, that's an interesting thought. With Matthew McConaughey, will he be somehow related to Spencer or Jack stepping in? He could be a totally new character who's not a Dutton, who's kind of a big bad. We don't know because he hadn't even been announced officially yet. So, but we've got to wrap up 1923. So let's talk about 1923 for a second. You and I covered 1923. I think it was one of the 2 best series that I watched this year, House of the Dragon, season 1 and 1923. To me, the writing was the best, the acting, the cinematography. It was everything I think you want in a series and more. And we had a few people come out of this series, to me, that are becoming stars. I mean, I'd love to see them in big movies. And it's Brandon Sklenar as Spencer Dutton and Julie Schaffler as Alexandra. And kind of had a feel, I think you mentioned it in one of our videos, whenever you saw Spencer and Alexandra on the screen, it felt like Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, as close to Indiana Jones as I've seen.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they were in Africa and, kind of going on these extravagant adventures and stuff. But, yeah, I think he was definitely the most interesting part. His storyline was the most interesting part of the show, in my opinion.
And it's definitely going to be ratcheted up for the final season. Yeah. And that's what I like about, having a story with a beginning, middle, and end and not deviating just because you get higher ratings. If you've got a story, tell it and be true to it. And because when you stretch it out because it's a hit beyond what it needs to be, the viewers can tell. So I think the fact that this story, kind of like 1883, is going to be contained makes it so much better. And Taylor Sheridan's good at that. Like he knows how to write these scenes, man. It's like you've got the exposition and the dialogue, but then when it's time for the guys to get out of the truck like Rip or get off the horse and throw down and go at it, I mean, he knows how to film that, right? He knows how to write it and knows how to film it. So 1923, we're going to have to see the final season of that, the limited series, season 2. And, the expectation is that will come in probably late 2024. Again, it's a moving target due to the writer's strike. And then we have another prequel series, but it would be jumping forward 20 years, and the rumored 1944 prequel series. And in 1944, we don't know who we're going to see in that. We're going to see Spencer Dutton. We're going to see Jack Dutton, Alexandra. We're going to see Elizabeth. We don't know. It could be, I think Kevin Costner's character, John Dutton, would not be born at that point, but his father would be there. So that was played by Dabney Coleman in the flashbacks in Yellowstone. So we don't know what we're going to see, but there had been rumors that they were talking to Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell would be great.
So we could see Kurt Russell. Could Kurt Russell be playing an older Spencer?
I think that would work.
I think he could.
Remember, he was Wyatt Earp in Tombstone. I thought he was incredible.
Love that. Yeah.
Kevin Costner was Wyatt Earp in something too, wasn't he?
And Wyatt Earp.
That's right. Right.
Yeah,
I think I like Kurt Russell's version better.
Well, the tone of the movies were very different, but so 1944 will be interesting. Again, looking at the outsider.com and giving them credit, they mentioned something that I had not seen elsewhere about how there was talk about shooting going on in Bitterroot Valley, taking place of what is the Chief Joseph Ranch. So I thought that was interesting. So, the announcements of these shows, we've got Yellowstone, season 5, part 2, the end of the year. We've got 1923. We've got 1944, and then, we have what we think is going to be, the spinoff series. So, we've got potentially Matthew McConaughey stepping in. So, Yellowstone season 5, part 2, spinoff series, 1923 and 1944. A lot of Yellowstone content. Just because Kevin Costner is stepping out doesn't mean that the Yellowstone world is going anywhere. Taylor Sheridan's here to stay.
If it does well, they could do 1964 and 1984 and milk this for another decade.
We did see a young John Dutton played by Josh Lucas.
Yeah.
In Yellowstone. So Josh Lucas can carry. I mean, again, Taylor Sheridan put such an ensemble cast. Look at Timothy Dalton in 1923, Jerome Flynn, Helen Mirren, and Harrison Ford. And then you have all these new actors. And there's no pressure on them, but they ease their way into the roles because it's so well written. So a Brandon Sklenar or a Julie Schaffler, these younger actors can come in and they're doing scenes with heavyweights, but it's so well written that just like Yellowstone, just like 1883, and you got to trust Taylor Sheridan at this point that this is his world. And honestly, I would love to see Taylor Sheridan fix some of the things going on in some of the other IPs out there beyond Paramount. I'd love to see him do something with Star Wars or something with Marvel, or I know he probably won't, but
I don't know if that's his wheelhouse though. He's more realistic. I mean,
he grew up with all those movies.
I know, but a good writer it doesn't mean they're a great writer in every type of. Sure. Because you've seen that crossover, and sometimes it just doesn't work.
But when we talk about talent, that when you see a lot of this stuff that's been made by some of the big IPs and studios, that's just horrible. The horrible writing, horrible directing, casting poorly. And then you see someone like Taylor Sheridan, the talent is out there. Andy Muschietti, who just did Flash. You still got Christopher Nolan, who's coming out with Oppenheimer. And you got people like Taylor Sheridan that are just killing it now with some of the content they're putting out. And look at Miguel Sapochnik and Ryan Condrell of House of the Dragon. And there's a lot of talent out there that's putting out great content. And it's only a matter of time before they get a chance to step into some other waters. So just food for thought. I don't want Taylor Sheridan going anywhere. I want more Yellowstone content. I don't know about you guys. Let us know what you think. Leave a comment below. Hit that like button. Most importantly, hit subscribe so that we can continue to grow our channel and content. And TCB.